1, offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Just about half the work week in the rear view mirror. Thank you all for spending some time with us here on ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. JD PicKell on 3 Sports in his normal Wednesday spot coming up in 15 minutes. It is What If Wednesday. Going to rely on the Bayou Ford chat and Twitter right now for some what ifs because we got a couple, but we'd like a few more of your suggestions. So spare me with the what if Jarrett Lee played. Don't give me the what if Scott Woodward wasn't hired. Don't give me what if if Drew Brees went to the Dolphins. We do those. We get those every week. Give me something else on Twitter or in the Bayou Ford chat, and we'll handle those at 1:30. Got some sound from Brian Kelly that we'll get to. Joe Burrow says he's going to go through a full practice today. Chat a little bit about the Bengals at 2:15, and at 2:30 we'll make everybody cranky. Probably, with SEC football power rankings, our first edition of the season after everybody has at least played one game now. So we'll get to all of that on this lovely Wednesday here as we march forward to LSU and Grambling. And I will probably say this every day for the next 3 days. This game is not really about anything that went on Sunday. The coaching staff can do some things, and the players can go out there and try to execute, and they may move Harold Perkins, or Emory Jones might move down to guard, and you might see Lance Hurd play right tackle, like some stuff, but you're not going to really know because it's Grambling, and they're an FCS team, and LSU is going to win this game by 50 points. This game is about enjoying some LSU football. Like, I'm excited to get out there and do the pregame show from between the ramps of the PMAC. I'm excited to go in the stadium and hear the band and watch the team play, and it's going to be enjoyable. There'll be no stress. There'll be no anxiety. There'll be no drama, but it's just going to be a day to enjoy your tailgate, enjoy seeing the Tigers, not have any frustration, and move on into Southeastern Conference play next week. That's really all we're looking at here for this Grambling game. So any sort of wildly in-depth conversation is probably misplaced this week, quite honestly. But there are some things that we'll attempt to look for in the game, and the first is Mason Smith. And Brian Kelly was asked yesterday about his big defensive tackle, and with the suspension last week, we knew he wasn't going to play, but he was asked last week, could he play? And he said he'd be questionable because we know that he'd been dealing with some injuries throughout camp. So Brian Kelly was asked yesterday about the return of Mason Smith.
He obviously impacts our defense. He allows us to do different things, allows us to, he's a guy that can play the 5 technique. He can play the 3. He can play the 1, the 0. I mean, his flexibility on our defense provides a new dimension that we're excited about getting him back.
And if Mason Smith goes out there and has 4 sacks against Grambling, it's not going to mean that Mississippi State can't block him, but it will mean that he feels pretty good and is able to go out there and give it a go. I was there. I've told the story many times on the air. I was there when he went down at practice a few weeks ago, and it was not a very pleasant 5 minutes. Now, he got up and walked off, but apparently the pain lingered for a good bit, 7-10 days, but sounds like he's ready to roll. However, you do have to look at Mason Smith and realize, okay, he played in 1 series last year, then he missed the entirety of the season, didn't do a ton in the spring, and was banged up a lot of fall camp. So what can you actually expect to see from him on Sunday?
I think we have to be realistic that, when you haven't played in over a year, he's not going to be able to play the duration of the game. And, we're looking, obviously if we can get, somewhere near 30 snaps, we'd be really excited about that. So he's practicing, for us, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
And that makes a ton of sense. I mean, he hasn't really played in like 20 months. It's not a year. It's like 20 months. I'm not going to give him a ton of credit in terms of his football readiness for playing a series against Florida State. You really got to go back to the end of 2021 to the last time he played significant snaps, and he wasn't a starter on that team. So keep him around 30 snaps. Probably tell him to grab a seat at halftime, where I think a lot of guys will grab a seat. But it's just good to get Mason Smith back, because I do believe this. There are some things that I'm concerned about that LSU did on Sunday in their long-term ramifications over the course of a season. But one of the things that I do think LSU has that can strengthen is the pass rush and the ability to disrupt things at the line of scrimmage. Because we saw Mekhi Wingo play really well. We think Mason Smith can play really well, and we know that Harold Perkins can go down there and play really well. So I think twofold there, more of Perkins and the addition of Smith could be a pretty noticeable impact on the LSU defense, right? Like that's something I think we can agree on. So getting Mason Smith back in this game is very, very good. Hopefully he stays healthy, gets some snaps, and is able to give you more 7 days later against Mississippi State on the road up in Starkville. Another guy who we did not see on Sunday was Denver Harris. And quite frankly, we didn't expect to see Denver Harris. If you listen to us as we went out to practice and came here, you might say, oh, y'all were sunshine pumping too much. Y'all told us all. Well, we did tell you that Denver Harris was running third team. And he did not get in the game for a snap on Sunday. So the question was asked of Brian Kelly, like, what's the status of Denver Harris?
Could you give us an update on the status and availability of cornerback Denver Harris?
He's available, yes. He is available.
Pretty short and to the point, right? I'm going to speculate here. That's part of this platform. You know, you're a newspaper reporter and you're writing in print. You need to have your facts. It's a hard news story. It needs to be factual. You're writing an opinion column in a newspaper where you can use your opinion. And this is an opinion platform as well. My opinion is that answer from Brian Kelly implies that there are some issues there with Denver Harris in terms of non-football things. That's what I'm inferring. Like, it just feels that way. There was no elaboration. There was no reason given. It's just, yeah, he's available. Didn't play. And to be that short just indicates that there's just not, there's something there. And it's speculation on my part, but the things keep piling up. And I'll tell you this. When LSU kind of comprised its roster back in February, and you got your transfers, and you got your signees, and you knew who was leaving and who was coming, and you started to look at what the roster was going to look like, you knew what the offense was because just about everybody was back. And on defense, Wingo, Smith, okay, yeah, I got that. And then, okay, Perkins is in there. And when I started in the secondary, I pretty much started with, well, you'll probably have Denver Harris at one corner. And then, you know, whether you wanted to put Deuce Chestnut there or Zy Alexander there, or you felt like LaTerrence Welsh would take a step forward, or J.K. Johnson would recover from his injury. Like, there were plenty of uncertainties, but I generally started with, well, Denver Harris is probably your number one corner. And call that stargazing. Call it whatever you want. But that's how I felt. To me, he's probably their most talented cornerback. Again, I'm not a scout. But his inability to play, his unavailability for whatever reason, I think compromises this unit pretty significantly. Deuce Chestnut's not going to grow 3 more inches. Javian Toviano is not going to grow up 2 years over 2 months. He feels like the wild card, and he's unavailable, and it doesn't feel like it's football reasons. Maybe it is. Maybe he went out there in the spring and couldn't cover anybody, and maybe he went out there in the fall and couldn't cover anybody. I didn't see all that. I don't know. But we're not getting any reasons. We just hear, not ready. And to me, that has compromised the depth, certainly, and I think the talent level of this LSU defensive back group. And it's a big bummer. But it wasn't the only thing LSU struggled with in terms of pass coverage on Sunday. They also struggled running the football. You've heard the stat a million times now. 11 carries, 14 yards by the backs outside of the one run from Williams. And Brian Kelly was asked about how to get the run game going, and he gave his answer.
The offensive line will be involved in that, and, they were in situational work where, it's tough yardage, right? We're on the goal line a couple of times. We were in fourth down situations. Not all of it was, the offensive line couldn't get movement. We were in some option read situations where we didn't make the proper read. So I think this is much more about just looking at it systemically, that we run the ball with a little bit more variety and certainly get other guys touches, not just the quarterback.
That speaks to one thing that I thought LSU was going to be in really good shape on, and that's just simple execution. We talked all August about, oh my gosh, they have their quarterback back. That hasn't happened in a while. Oh wow, they've got the offensive coordinator back. That hadn't happened in a while. And Josh Williams has been there forever. Noah Cain's been there for a year. They ought to be, up to speed. Let's go. You don't have to worry about the things that you saw last year where it took them a half to figure out anything on offense, and that made a lot of sense. New quarterback, new coordinator, new everything. This year it's same everything, and they're not executing properly on zone reads. And they also didn't get much of a push. Just nothing in terms of the run game was executed well. And that's something that they can work on in practice, but you're not going to prove anything to me knocking Grambling out of the way and running for 265 yards. It's an FCS team. It's just not apples to apples. We got a lot more to chew on, speaking of apples, over the next couple of days before we get ready for LSU and Grambling from Tiger Stadium at 6:30 on Saturday night. I want to talk a little bit of LSU and Florida State with our next guest, JD PicKell from On3 Sports, but we'll also paint a little bit of a national picture as well. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready for NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Russ Mitchell joins us, talk a little SEC football. We head up to Nashville to check in on the Tennessee Titans before they head to the Dome. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Our guy JD PicKell from 013, host of the Hard Count over on YouTube, joins us every single Wednesday. JD, how are you, sir?
Doing phenomenal, Hunt. How we doing?
We're not great.
That's fair. It's week one. It's a good Florida State team. You know, there's a long road ahead.
What'd you see on Sunday night?
Man, I thought the poise from Florida State was the most interesting thing. Like, and I'm not just saying this because we have this show in Baton Rouge. Like, I genuinely think we learned more about Florida State than we did LSU. And my big question was like, okay, how's Florida State going to handle this spotlight and all the hype around them all off season? And they didn't really beat a ranked team outside of that first game. And then for them to come up and look the way they did, I thought validated a lot of that. I thought those transfers didn't look like transfers at all. They looked like they'd been with that team for a long time. And so the disappointing thing for LSU, I think, is the fact that you couldn't run the football well, especially in the middle. Like, you were hoping there would be some by committee kind of run game there with Jaden Daniels on the edge and being able to get Josh Williams going a little bit on the inside zone stuff, and that wasn't there, so that's disappointing. But I don't know that there's anything that is overly alarming based on what you saw in week one. Ran into a really good Florida State team. If you play that game 10 times, how often do you get a 45-24 in there? Probably not that many times. But nonetheless, kind of regroup, move on. It's a fork-in-the-road moment now for them. So excited to see how they respond.
Was there anything that you saw from LSU that you think may be a season-long problem that showed up just in week one?
You know, I think kind of what I mentioned with the interior of that offensive line, being able to get that push in the middle. Now, Florida State has a really good defensive line, so there's a part of that could just be a one-game sample size. I don't know that we saw Jaden Daniels push the ball downfield probably as much as maybe we talked about all off season. So there's so many things that we just kind of got a temperature for. It's hard to say for sure if something will be, like a glaring weakness. But like for instance, I don't see anything like we saw last year where game one it's like, good thing Jaden Daniels is fast because that offensive line is going to take a second to get grouped together. Like there was nothing like that jumped out. So. Nothing that you're hitting the alarm button on.
Is Florida State your ACC favorite at this point?
They got to be, right? They got to be. Now, I'm not so sure, and this is kind of probably a little bit counterintuitive. I'm not so sure Clemson's loss to Duke doesn't make them more dangerous when Florida State goes to Clemson, South Carolina. Like, I think that just is setting itself up so perfectly for, oh, man, Clemson's packing it in. Oh, Dabo's lost his touch, I mean, that game in itself, when it comes to the Clemson-Duke situation, like, Clemson did everything they could to lose that football game.
Yeah.
There's so much that you unpack with that one where, like, Duke also has a quarterback that's probably going to go in the first round of next year's draft, so we shouldn't just, like, dismiss that. And the optics are bad. You lose to Duke, you lose on a Monday night, you lose the opener. All those things are bad, but I'm not so sure that I'm ready to write Clemson off just yet. But even so, man, I think Florida State's got to be the favorite in the ACC if they weren't before this weekend.
What do you think about Ohio State kind of getting out of the block slow?
Man, I kind of felt like a 16-year-old on Christmas morning with a very rich father, and all I got was socks for Christmas. I'm like, hey, where's my Ferrari? Where's my Ferrari of an offense that we're supposed to have based on all the talent we have, all the money that you have, Dad? Where's my Ferrari sitting in the driveway? I'm feeling like I got cheated a little bit. Now, it is week one. It was on the road. It was a conference opponent. So there's a lot of things baked into it where you can kind of talk yourself down a little bit. But it really felt to me, Hunt, and I'm curious to see how you feel about this, like we got all this conversation during the week of, well, the battle goes into week one, and we're going to have Devin Brown play too. And it's like Devin Brown got in for like a series or two. If there's a true quarterback battle going on, Devin Brown's not getting a fair shake, or they feel pretty settled with Kyle McCord. So this week should tell us a lot in terms of how much they do play him. But I'm not hitting the panic button on Ohio State just yet either. But, I mean, if they don't have the right guy playing quarterback that can get them scored in that 40 range consistently, Ohio State's gonna have some more to talk about. But again, week one, not overly concerned just yet. No such thing as a bad win, but curious to see how that quarterback room develops, how that offense develops going forward.
Speaking of slow starts, Billy Napier's Florida Gators not great last Thursday out in Salt Lake. Your thoughts on where that program is right now and what this season may look like?
Yeah, not great. Not great. Especially, it hurts a little bit more, too, because you lose to a backup quarterback. Like if Cam Rising's playing, it probably hits a little bit differently if you're in Gainesville this morning. But it's so tough to take too much from one game. I think the biggest thing for me was the fact they got out of their game plan so early, and it feels like forever ago. We're talking about having played Thursday. I'm sure it doesn't feel that way for Florida fans. It's been, I'm sure, a long week for them to get back to week two. They got out of their game plan so early. I don't know that I really got a great gauge for what Florida's going to be. Because we talked about it, I think, last Wednesday about, well, hey, for Florida, big part of this thing is having some game control and being able to kind of control field position. And then, first play, deep shot to Money Parks. And it's like, well, guess we got to score, boys. We got to trade some punches here. And they're not built to do that with Graham Mertz playing quarterback. And I don't think there's anybody in Gainesville under the impression otherwise. So I think the verdict's still out on them in terms of what they'll have offensively. But, yeah, just that they can't play games in a track meet, and that thing turned into a situation where you put a lot of pressure on Graham Mertz on the road in his first start as a Gator, and it kind of went how it went.
Texas A&M certainly looked good on Saturday. They head to a Miami team that went 5-7 as well last year and played pretty well against an outmanned opponent in the opener. What interests you about that game?
Yeah, if you're a storylines crowd, there's a ton, because both these brands obviously very visible when it comes to the college football landscape. A lot's expected of them, a lot of resources, all that. But, I mean, the thing that's interesting to me in this game, and I think we'll figure it out pretty early on, whose offense is it anyways, Like, is it Jimbo or is it Bobby? Because it's very easy to let somebody drive your car when you're just going through the drive-thru to get a bite to eat, or you're just taking the kids to school. It's a whole different deal when you throw someone the keys to your car and say, okay, go drive this thing on the highway, go take it on a cross-country road trip, which is what Jimbo Fisher is now essentially doing, and the keys to Bobby Petrino playing on the road at Miami. You can do it against a team like New Mexico. That's fine. I'm here for that. But to do it against a team, it's a Power 5 opponent, you're on the road, like that's a whole different ballgame. So if it's not Bobby Petrino's offense, I think we're going to figure out pretty early there'll be some yanking on the wheel.
Who do you like in the game?
I like Miami. Or excuse me, I said Miami. I like Miami to cover probably, but I do think that A&M ends up winning the football game. I think we're going to see a different offense. Also, I love Connor Wegman. I think Connor Wegman's the man. And I think they toyed with those safeties enough early in the game with the run game and end up finding a way to get it done, make a few plays late.
All right, let's talk about the big one. Texas and Alabama. Tide went with Jalen Milroe on Saturday. What do you think of him? And then what do you think of that matchup? Does Texas have a chance to go into Bryant-Denny?
I think it's tough because it's Middle Tennessee, right? And so we're all sort of trying to gauge what we can from a game like that. My big thing was the fact that he hit the deep shot. Because, the deep shot when it comes to playing quarterback to me is a lot like the three-point shot in basketball. Like, the game doesn't change where you're playing it at. Like, it doesn't change how wide the hoop is or how far away it is from three-point line to the basket. Like, same thing with the deep pass. If a guy's open, we're not changing the whole setup when it comes to how big the field is or who's playing defense. Like, if he's open, whether it's Georgia or it's Middle Tennessee, so you better hit him. And so to see them be able to do that effectively 3 different times against Middle Tennessee, I think bodes well for them going into this game because they're going to have it against Texas. I have Alabama winning the football game. I have Texas covering the 7. I think we walk away from this one and feel a lot like, wow, those were 2 really good football teams. I don't think we leave that game saying, wow, we were wrong about Texas. Wow, we were wrong about Bama. I think we leave saying, wow, hopefully we see some kind of situation happen where we get both these teams in the playoff because I think they both have those kind of chops. Now, that's probably going to fall, a little bit more on the team that loses that game to make that happen, but that's where I fall when it comes to the results in Bryant-Denny that night.
All right, let's go big picture here, and we touched on it briefly in the middle of the segment, but I want to circle back around to it because I was a little bit surprised at the amount of Clemson's in big trouble Twitter fodder from, like national media folks and just Joe on Twitter. Like, where are you on Dabo and that program over the next 5 years? Do you think they can regain national title level performance, or do you think that they're taking a step back?
I think a lot of it that's easy for people to jump at is Dabo Swinney operates a little bit differently. I mean, he doesn't use the portal. He does what he thinks, and that rubs some people the wrong way. My thought on it is I don't think the issue is what everyone's saying with they're not using the transfer portal. Like, that's fine. You don't want to use the transfer portal. My situation and my issue is, okay, the players that you have on your roster, especially at the wide receiver position, feel like all kind of the same genre of player. Like, I don't see a game breaker there. I don't see a guy that runs, in like the 4-2 or the guy that can really stretch the field outside of Antonio Williams. And so my big question for Clemson is, do we have to reevaluate how we build this roster from a recruiting standpoint? Not that they don't have great players. They're always doing pretty well when it comes to, the recruiting rankings year in and year out. They're always somewhere in that top 15, top 10. But the way they have recruited the wide receiver position gives me some concern if they don't adjust that. Now, I guess the answer or the caveat to that would be, well, if you don't like what you have on your wide receiver room, go hit the portal and get yourself a Keon Coleman or someone like that, like Florida State did. So that's kind of the in-between that you have to talk about. But for me, I think it's far too early to write off Clemson. To me, this screams a lot of what Notre Dame was last year in week 2 when we talked about them losing to Marshall. Like, there was so much, Marcus Freeman can't be a head coach. He's not the right guy, all this, that, and the other. And then we looked up at the end of the season, they won 9 games because they figured it out, and they're super talented. So as long as you have talent, you're going to have a chance, and we know there's a lot of talent in Clemson, South Carolina.
I'm right there with you in terms of I'm not writing Clemson off, and that was my point that so many more people were saying, oh, they're done. But I do have to push back a little bit. Like, if you're not going to use the transfer portal, that's just coaching malpractice. The team I just watched beat LSU like a drum in the second half is all transfers. Jordan Travis transferred, Keon Coleman transferred, Johnny Wilson transferred, Jared Verse transferred. Like, that whole team, the whole team's transfers. Like, to totally neglect that part of your job based on, I guess, principle is going to get you beat in this era, I think.
Yeah, and I think it is too situation by situation, because when Mike Norvell got to Florida State, the roster he had, it was like, hey, if I want to try and recruit long enough to eventually get this roster to a group of guys that I can win with, like, I may not be here to see the fruits of that labor, so I got to win now. And Colorado's a great example. There's expectations to win now. Dabo doesn't have that situation. He's recruited well for a long time. He recruited well before the portal, and there's just been too many. I don't know if misses is the right word. There's been too many situations where the roster you have isn't dynamic enough to compete in the modern game. So I think the malpractice part kicks in, where it's like, okay, we have these situations. Now let's go fix them this offseason. So that in itself, I think, has a lot of merit to it. But I don't think not using the portal at Clemson is their issue, just because he kind of is in a situation before the portal where he had a lot of really strong recruiting classes that they didn't have to go and make a bunch of fixes through the portal.
Appreciate it as always, JD. Have a great rest of your week. We'll do it again next week.
You're the man. Appreciate you, brother.
JD PicKell, On3 Sports. He's on YouTube on the On3 channel. Subscribe to it and catch his content each and every day. Like, I rolled through Florida State there, and I did this yesterday as well for those that were paying attention. But, like, just look at some of the great players. And if you want to just lean on your high schoolers, like, you're going to miss on evals on a lot of high school kids. That's just the nature of it. Instead, you can just go get a guy that's already played college football. LSU can just go get Mekhi Wingo, who's a freshman all-conference player on the defensive line at Missouri. I don't have to guess on his high school tape or his camp workout. I saw it. He played insert school, Florida, right there. There it is. That guy's good. I'll take him. It just to say, well, we're not. I don't believe in transfers. I think you ought to be committed to what you're doing. And then you just don't go get. That's malpractice. And if Dabo Swinney goes the rest of his time at Clemson without getting transfers in and just relies on his high school evaluations, he's going to get boat raced. Boat raced in big games. Again, I'm not writing him off. There are only 20 programs or so that can do this thing at a high level, and that's one of them, and I think they can still do it. But you better go get some transfers because that's how the game's played. Take a time out, come back with What If Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana all summer long. We've been telling you about Corey Barr, champion of Louisiana. Corey is from Monroe, up there in the 318. Got into the culinary world, sent it onto the Food Network, beat Bobby Flay, Food Network star. And he comes right on back to Monroe, operates his business there because Louisiana is important to him and bettering his home state is important to him. That's what makes him a champion of Louisiana. If you know one, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. It could be a business, nonprofit, could be a person. LWCC will tell their story, and they'll give us the platform to do it as well. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor, so you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast? All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel
this Sunday as we bring you 3 NFL Week 1 matchups. We'll kick things off with the noon kickoff, the 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then immediately following that game, we'll bring you the Philadelphia Eagles at the New England Patriots. And then your nightcap, the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants here on 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks to JD PicKell for jumping aboard. Coming up in hour number 2, we'll do some SEC football power rankings. We'll have a little more sound from Brian Kelly as well. But for now, let's do some What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, first one here. What if you could rewatch a movie for the first time?
Let's see what comes to mind there. A couple that just came to mind. One, just to do the actual experience again. I had a great crew that went to watch The Hangover the first time. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and I was in pain how hard I was laughing at that in the movie theaters. Like, that was the funniest in theater viewing experience I've ever been a part of, and it helped that I was with like a group of guys. It would have been funnier in the theater with guys as opposed to like watching it on the couch for the first time. So that experience sticks out. If we're just talking about the movie and the entertainment value of the movie, I'll tell you, when we did the deal where I had to do a movie report for the morning show during COVID, when there were no sports, and they had me on every Friday morning to do a movie report, the most enjoyable watching experience I had throughout those was Shawshank. Like, because I feel like now you know what's coming, but I didn't even know what the movie was about. The Shawshank Redemption. I had no clue. I just turned it on and started watching. And when you see them rip that poster off the wall and he's gone, like that plot twist was just like, oh man, really? So those two come to mind. The actual experience was probably The Hangover, in terms of just the watching of the movie and seeing that plot twist for the first time, that you can never watch that movie again and not know what's coming.
Yeah.
That, I think Shawshank probably comes up there for me.
Immediately comes to mind for me is The Dark Knight, seeing that in the theaters.
I saw that opening night with a good buddy, and it was awesome. Very much enjoyed that.
All right, next one here. What if Hunt ran for mayor on a singular platform of solving game day traffic, got elected, and then massively delivered on his promise? This is from Twitter.
I saw that. Look, one, you don't have to worry about me running for mayor. That is not going to happen. I'm grossly unqualified, and who's going to vote for me? But game day traffic is an interesting talking point. It's all about It's all about what am I trying to say? Like, I'm willing to put up with some things to go watch live sporting events. Like, I'm willing to deal with the heat. I'm willing to sit in traffic. I'm willing, I was willing the COVID season to go and get the proof of the shot and the whole thing to show. Like, some people are like, I'm not going to do all that, which is fine. But I like going enough where I'll put up with some stuff. Now, I don't have to deal with traffic anymore on the way out, because I do the post-game show and I walk out and traffic's gone 90 minutes after the game ends. But I was willing to sit in traffic because the football game's like what I was doing that day. I have no problem getting into a little bit of gridlock for a huge basketball game or a huge baseball game too. Like, I'm okay with it, but I get those that aren't and would rather sit at home in the air conditioning with the full fridge and a steak and watch it on their flat screen TV and Lazy Boy. I just would far, far, far rather be in the arena with the 90-something thousand people screaming and the emotion that goes into all that than sit on the couch and watch it. That's just the way I feel about it. But game day traffic, it's gone after 90 minutes after the game is over. If that's something you're interested in, if you can sit there for 90 minutes, then the traffic's gone, because I walk out every game and it's gone. So I won't be running for mayor anytime soon.
All right. Excuse me. Moving on here. What if Joe Brady didn't leave for Carolina and stayed at LSU and became offensive coordinator after Ensminger did finally retire? What would the next 2 years have looked like?
That's really hard. Like, I realize this is what if, and you just throw your hypotheticals out there. He got dealt a pretty crummy hand in Carolina. Like, he just didn't have very good quarterback play and a very good roster, so it didn't work out there. And, LSU losing Burrow and losing Chase and losing Jefferson and all that, like, the personnel wasn't as good the next couple of years. The COVID year is so weird that it's hard for me to get into that. But, I mean, I think Joe Brady is a better offensive coordinator than Jake Peetz. Like, I would suggest that. Question is, could you get quality quarterback play at that point from Max Johnson? I think it would have been better. I don't think it would have looked anything like 2019, I guess is my short answer.
Sorry. Moving on. What if Denver Harris balls out Saturday but gets 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties?
I really, really, really don't like unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. Like, I hate them. I can live with a hold. You block in the back. Okay, maybe that happens. You accidentally grab a face mask. Like, we'll live with it. I hate unsportsmanlike conduct penalties because they're so preventable. However, if they can find somebody in this secondary to cover somebody, like, I'll feel a little bit better about things. So I would probably, certainly in the Grambling game, because unsportsmanlike conduct penalties don't matter, I would be all for this. Now, you get unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in Oxford. I'm not going to be super thrilled about that. But yeah, like, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot to get somebody on this team that can cover. So that would be my thought on that. Shout out to those in the Bayou Ford chat that were throwing some what ifs, and those that were on Twitter as well. I think that is, that's just about it for What If Wednesday. 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura of Baton Rouge, are teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, visit our website, that's 1045ESPN.com, and everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win exclusive prizes. Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Take one more time out. We will come back and close out hour number 1 on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration between Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and only provider in Louisiana that's got a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. You're going to have access to MD Anderson's protocols, access to their specialists, their researchers, and they're offering groundbreaking research and innovative therapies. They're also going to offer access to select clinical trials available to eligible patients. We all know someone who has had cancer. It impacts everyone. And this is why that's such great news that the fight continues with Ochsner and MD Anderson. Expert care is going to be offered in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany Parish, and right here in Baton Rouge, and they're going to work together to certify some additional sites coming up in the future. If you'd like to learn more about Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, visit ochsner.org.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways.
Join us for a Thursday edition of Off the Bench as we look ahead to Week 2 in college football and Week 1 in the NFL, including Lions at Chiefs in the season opener, and Chef Michael Johnson joins the show for a new edition of Munchies. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to Doug Gunther. Doug's our Week 1 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em Contest. He wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 2 by noon on Thursday. That is tomorrow. Play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 104.5 ESPN.com. So I'm looking through the Bayou Ford chat, and one of the things that I've also seen this on Twitter, and I've seen it on message boards, whether it's On 3, Tiger Droppings, or wherever you're looking at your stuff, and seeing a fair amount of like, man, the media really blew this. The media, way too much sunshine pumping, not nearly critical enough, and I kind of grin at that and like kind of chuckle. I mean, I can't account for what every media person has said. There are a billion different outlets that cover LSU in different little nooks and crannies of the internet and the wherever you may find your stuff. But I mean, like, I don't know that I think that it was just a massive exaggeration or some narrative being pushed by the media that LSU was going to have a good football team. I mean, I can only speak for myself with 100% certainty. I didn't suggest that Jaden Daniels was going to, turn into somebody completely different. I thought that there's a good chance he could be more aggressive because it's something that Brian Kelly has talked about so much. Like, when Les Miles never changed, he never talked about anything changing. Charlie will tell you, the engine's pretty stinking good. He would just, there was going to be a commitment to being the same. Brian Kelly has frequently talked about how the ball has got to be pushed down the field more under Jaden Daniels. And yeah, they didn't do a good job of that on Sunday, no question about it. But I don't know that anybody suggested this LSU team was going to be some kind of shutdown pass defense. I expressed concerns about that from the first time we went out there. I think all y'all remember when we said, man, the wide receivers are really winning the day against these DBs. Like they're really, really winning the day. And that proved to be pretty true. LSU's wide receivers, when draft day comes around, are going to be picked, especially Neighbors, pretty high. And Florida State kind of chopped LSU up. I will say that I probably suggested the offensive line would play significantly better than they did on Sunday. We knew that Florida State's defensive line was good. We knew that Jared Verse was good. We knew that they had returners on the interior. But I thought they'd block them, and they didn't. But I think it's natural. This is a take I've had since I started doing radio. Like, there's a very specific calendar of emotions that every fan base goes into. And August is the most optimistic of the most optimistic. Go listen to Texags Radio talking about A&M in fall camp this year and last year. They'll tell you how good A&M is going to be. Go listen to the Florida State preview podcasts about this team. They'll tell you how awesome Florida State's going to be. It's very rare that a media group covering a team goes out to practice where the majority of the time they're watching them run around cones and hit sleds and say, man, this team bites. They're terrible. I don't know what Vegas is thinking with that win total. Hammer the under. It's just not the way that this thing works. It's just very rare that you're going to go out to practice and see something so jarring that would indicate that, man, this is awful. And we're not, in the media, I'll speak for myself here. I'm not a scout. I'm not an NFL GM or a college football coach. I'll readily admit that, like, the position that I can evaluate the best at practice over my 12, 13 years of going out there is wide receiver. I called Jarvis Landry early. I called Jamar Chase early. I called Malik Neighbors early. Like, when you watch wide receivers, you see their size and you see them do some things, jumping, making contested catches, that kind of stuff. Like, that's pretty easy to diagnose. When the linemen are out there popping sleds, I'm not going to tell you who's going to be a first-round pick and who can't play a lick. I don't know. The quarterbacks can't get sacked. A lot of times they're throwing on the air when we're out there. It's not real easy to diagnose things like that. You couldn't have seen Burrow coming, and it's easy to say someone's a little bit better than maybe they play when the real heat starts coming. You can see how big a running back is, how fast he moves. You can see what a defensive end looks like in the pads. But there's just not that much. And it's just, especially when you're at a place like LSU, where they have so many guys that were 4- and 5-star recruits, so many guys that are top 70 NFL draft picks, it's easy to go out there and go, man, this looks pretty good. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot of 10-2 predictions. I know Matt said 11-1. Matt said a national championship, and, that's part of putting yourself out there. I've probably overhyped a couple baseball teams in the last 10 years. But that's from what you see in January, when you tend to see things positively. I don't think there's some sort of manufactured narrative that the media is attempting to push when they go out there. And this team still could be really good. I know that's hard to sit here and really agree to after they got their butt kicked in the second half and it seemed like Florida State was running wind sprints to the end zone. But let's see what they do in 2 weeks when they go to Starkville. Let's see what happens when they come back home and play Arkansas. You win both of those games against teams that you've got more pros than, it feels a little different. But it's always going to be optimistic early. I don't think anybody looked at LSU's basketball team last year and said, yeah, 2-16 in the league. I didn't. I said, yeah, I think they can win 8 games. 8-10, that'd be a good go. And won 2. You're usually going to shoot high on that. But, I'm just speaking to myself. Edward O. Nuss, bus driver in the Bayou Ford chat, said, be honest, Hunt, all that access made you overhype this team. Absolutely not. I told you I thought they'd lose to Florida State. I don't really care how much access the coaching staff gives us. I don't love going to football practice. It's not that interesting to me. Most of the stuff we get to see is not very interesting. But it does give us some content, so we do go and we tell you what we see. And I told you that the wide receivers were taking lunch money from the DBs almost every time I went out there. I told you Armani Goodwin did not look healthy at all to me. Like, I don't think it had nothing. I didn't go, oh man, Brian Kelly's letting me spend my Saturday morning out there at football practice watching 7-on-7. I mean, this team, they're going to the Sugar Bowl. Like, that's not, I did not feel that way. But I think that access is good for y'all. It allows us to shoot video. It allows us to take notes. It allows us to really know who's at practice and who's not. And it is what it is. Greg Lehman says, yeah, but you only had us losing by like 3 or 4 points. That's true. And I will say this, but you don't have to believe me. About Wednesday last week, I was like, man, this one could get away from LSU. I didn't have the guts or conviction to say it on the air, so it doesn't count. But I thought it was possible based on those receivers. Oh, well, we don't have to talk about it anymore. Take a time out. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and we'll do some SEC football power rankings in hour number 2. Hope your Wednesday's going well. Come back after SportsCenter. Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down the
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast office products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
Jones today wouldn't discuss details about his contract stalemate with the Chiefs, said he's simply asking for a raise. Also told reporters if a new deal gets done, he can be out there for tomorrow's season opener versus Detroit. ESPN's Kimberly A. Martin.
Chris Jones applying pressure up the middle, that helps the guys on the ends. That helps the back end. They're holding tight. He's the heart and soul of the defense. So without him on the field, I am very concerned about the Chiefs, as much as I feel like this is a team that could potentially repeat for the Super Bowl.
Kimberly A. Martin on Sportsmanlike. Jones has indicated previously that he'd be willing to sit out until Week 8. Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce will test his injured knee today to determine his availability against the Lions. He hyperextended the knee yesterday at practice. Baseball, Brewers once led 3-0. They now trail the Pirates 5-3 top 8. Guardians leading the Twins 1-0. Rain delay bottom third. Cubs up 3-0 on the Giants top 3. U.S. Open men's quarterfinals live on ESPN. Daniil Medvedev leads Andrei Rublev 1-0.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman. Coming up Thursday, Week 1 in the NFL is here. I'll tell you what I'm most excited to watch this season. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Half the work week in the rear view mirror. Moving right along here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the 1s and 2s. Cubs lead 3-0. We like that. I apologize. I know you don't care at all, but it does help me feel a little bit better when the football team gets run off the field and the Cubs do get a couple wins. It just keeps the breathing going. And it'll be fun in Tiger Stadium on Saturday because LSU's going to win by 1,000, and I'm going to enjoy that. So let's go back to LSU football here. We'll get to some SEC football power rankings at the bottom of this hour. Brian Kelly had the SEC teleconference today, and one of the questions that was asked him was about how the teams responded to the loss in practice. And that I always worry about a little bit in football because you have goals at LSU, and they're lofty goals every year. There are those kind of goals, and college football, more so than really any other sport, can take those goals from you pretty quickly, far more quickly than college basketball or college baseball can, far more quickly than the NFL can. And so I wonder about 18, 19, 20-year-olds when significant adversity hits. And there's real evidence to suggest that the college players are more resilient than you would think. I mean, look at what A&M did last year against LSU. Look at what LSU did in the COVID year in the swamp against a team that won the East, by the way, and had a Heisman frontrunner in Kyle Trask, and then came back and beat Ole Miss as well after just a dreadful start to the year. Most of the time, kids will play really hard. But I wonder about it sometimes. And when you think this is Brian Kelly's words, not mine, and they're Jaden Daniels too. When you think you're one team and you're not the team you thought you were, what's the response like? And so Brian Kelly was asked today, how has his team responded this week?
Practice hasn't been the issue, really. Their preparation has been really good. It was the performance end of things that really was concerning. And that is going to be, still central to the growth of our football team is, flipping it from preparation to performance. And so, those adjustments have been made already. We expect to perform at a higher level. We need to perform at a higher level. But you can imagine nobody's very happy. Everybody is certainly paying attention to the details necessary to be prepared to be their best when their best is needed. And that's going to be this Saturday.
And this Saturday, LSU will, of course, play Grambling. And, the question that you're going to get asked is like, okay, well, what can you get out of this game? And that's something I've been harping on for 3 days now. And even going back to last Friday, I talked about that when I gave my pick for the LSU and Florida State game. What can you get out of playing Grambling, and what does dropping down to an FCS opponent mean?
The team is certainly looking forward to putting last week behind them and looking forward to performing against Grambling. Hugh Jackson, and obviously an outstanding football coach, NFL coach. He's done a great job of reworking his roster. So this will be a good challenge for us, a team that obviously is going to play at its very best. And that's what we need to do. We need to play up to our level, an LSU level, and we're looking forward to doing that on Saturday.
I'll take umbrage with one comment. It's not going to be a great challenge at all. It is not in the least going to be a great challenge. But it is an opportunity to go out there in front of 85,000 people, 75,000 people, however many people show up in the heat to watch LSU play Grambling. It is the home opener, sometimes a good one to take the kids to as well. Can the guys get ready to play? And that's really the biggest chore. I think that because it's the home opener, it's their first time running out of the tunnel in Tiger Stadium. I think there will be a little juice there. If they played this game before A&M, I think you might have a little bit of an issue, but I don't think that necessarily be too big an issue on Saturday. But the question that Brian Kelly was asked in terms of the gameplay is, are you going to make any personnel changes this week?
It's always about, evaluation of all players, all coaching, everything gets evaluated. But, for me to kind of answer you and say, this guy's not going to play because of this, there wasn't one player that caused that loss. That was a collective defeat, coaching-wise, player-wise. And so we've got to do a better job coaching, and our players got to do a better job playing. Could there be some new players that we get a chance to see? Absolutely. But I don't think you're going to see wholesale changes. I think the changes need to occur in terms of how we coach, how we prepare, and how we get ourselves ready. And I think that's where you'll see the biggest changes.
Again, if a guy beats the brakes off of a Grambling player, it's not going to prove much to me in terms of what he's going to do against Mississippi State the next week. I can take more, I think, though, out of substitution patterns. Like if you show me Lance Hurd at right tackle and Emory Jones at right guard, that means you're looking at it. If you show me Harold Perkins on the line of scrimmage more, it means you're looking at it. If you show me a shakeup at one of the corner spots, whether it's LaTerrence Wells or Denver Harris or Javian Toviano, that means you're looking at it. If you put Aaron Anderson back there to return punts, again, means you're looking at it. I'm not necessarily outcome oriented in this game because you know what the scoreboard is going to look like. But coaching decisions like that with personnel is something we can pick up on. It's something we picked up on when we went to the scrimmage and we saw Sage Ryan out at corner going, I haven't seen that before. And then you ask the question, well, yeah, we're looking at him there. That's the way it goes. And I thought an interesting question that Brian Kelly was asked, is it tougher to get a grip on your team this day and age in college football? And I just ranted and raved about Dabo Swinney that he's got to go get transfers, but that does mean that you're kind of overhauling your roster every single year, and it may be a little bit tougher. And Brian Kelly kind of spoke to that.
Well, when you have 14 transfers and a number of those guys were starters, first-time starters, and you have, a number of freshmen, you're still learning about your team. But we'll get to know our team and know the things that we need to do to get them in the right mindset for each and every game. We haven't lost touch with who our players are. We've been with them all year. But when it comes to performance, we had a lot of new players out there. So it's incumbent upon us to put them in the right position, to teach them. And maybe we got to do less. Maybe we got to do some things a little bit differently. And, that's where you get a chance to really grow and learn about your football team. And that's kind of what we're doing right now.
And that's a battle that every college coach is going to fight. That's one that everyone's on a level playing field because the transfer portal has been available to everybody for a few years now. But I think it's different depending on the level of your program. If you're, Florida International, and all of a sudden Miles Frazier becomes a stalwart on your offensive line and then bolts and leaves, or you're Arizona State, your quarterback bolts for LSU, filling those holes can be tough. You're talking about some of the best players on your team. LSU theoretically is just patching some depth holes with players more often than not. Now you may get, Alabama will get Jahmyr Gibbs, who's one of the best players on their team, Jamison Williams. That can happen, but I think the adjustment year over year with the transfer portal is a little bit different depending on your level, but everyone's dealing with more personnel change than they did earlier in their coaching career if they've been at this 15 years. So for me, it's not an excuse at all for poor performance in September because everybody's dealing with it. So yeah, in year one last year, it makes a lot of sense that LSU wasn't quite there, but moving forward, you ought to be prepared to play. And I think that Brian Kelly and his staff thought they were prepared to play. They just got their butts kicked in the second half by a good Florida State team. So that's sound from Brian Kelly earlier today on the SEC teleconference. He'll have his final media availability tomorrow after practice. And then, of course, his coach's show from TJ Ribbs on Thursday night. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, let's cleanse the palate a little bit from LSU and Florida State. How about a little Joe Burrow talk? That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's storm season. There's one brewing out there in the tropics. Hopefully blows out to sea and doesn't affect anybody here in America. But we know what happens, and it happens here just about every year. Be prepared. Boudreaux's Electric can get a custom generator installed in your home. It'll come with a free 10-year warranty. So when storms come, your home is ready for action. You can customize a generator to your exact specifications. If you've got a huge house, a lot of square footage, want to power the whole thing, they got you covered. Have a more modest home and you don't really care about the entire thing running, you just want the AC going and fridge and freezer working. They can do that as well. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing with Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux been operating for 40 years over there at Boudreaux's Electric, and they'll make you a promise. If you find a Generac generator for less expensive than Boudreaux's, they'll match that price. It's not going to happen, but they promise you they'll match that price. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer, and they can customize a generator for you. Call them at the same number they've had for 40 years, 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562, Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. stumps. Your roots are planted deep inside of me.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
Charles Handgriff, join us from the brand new Town Square Pizza for Thursday's edition of Live at Lunch. Dwayne Colucci is with us. Matt Humans and Paul Nolan makes his return to the show. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
NFL cranks up tomorrow night. Give you my picks in the divisions coming up on tomorrow's show. Question in Cincinnati is Joe Burrow going to play on Sunday as the Bengals open up with Cleveland? And based on Zach Taylor's press conference today, the answer is more likely yes than not. Of course, we remember Joe Burrow goes down the last week in July. I know when it happened because I was sitting on the beach, my 1 week off, and my brother-in-law grabs his phone and he goes, Joe Burrow got carted off the field today at practice. And the only thought in my head was, well, he clearly tore his ACL. Like, that's, why else would you cart a quarterback off that he can't even get hit? And you see the video and you can tell, well, it's not his knee, but it looked pretty bad. He starts scrambling and then just goes down in a heap and grabs his calf. And it's a calf strain that he has been dealing with now for over a month. And he was able today to participate fully in practice. Now, Zach Taylor told just an absolute out-and-out lie when they said, yeah, we're not really having many conversations about whether or not Joe's going to play. We're just focused on Cleveland. That's where 99% of our conversations are. Oh, really? Your all-pro potential quarterback, whether or not he's not going to play, is going to play, doesn't affect the game plan at all? That's what you're going to tell the media? I'm pretty sure those conversations are being had multiple times a day. But the issue is not whether or not Joe's going to be healthy to play this year, because even if he's not ready to go on Sunday, he'll be ready to go early in the season. Question is, what level of play can he give you? Remember last year he missed a ton of time with another injury in camp. It was the appendectomy, and he wasn't able to practice very much. Come out of the gates and they played Pittsburgh at home. It was not a good Pittsburgh team last year. And he threw 4 picks in the opener. He got sacked 7 times. And then they came out in week 2 and went to Dallas, and it wasn't a whole lot better. He threw for 199 yards, and the Bengals put up 17 points. Now, he's entering year, what's his 4? He played 20, 21, 22. Yeah, year 4. And he's been with T. Higgins, and he's been with Jamar Chase, and he's familiar with that group. But just not practicing is a big deal. And no, you don't have to play in the preseason games. Like, that's not the most important thing. But getting out there and like getting reps is a big deal. And I don't know how much Joe's been able to do over the last 3 weeks as he's recuperated. He has been throwing a little bit, we know that, but if you're not like really into it and feeling the speed of the game and getting the ball out, working on your timing with guys, like it just feels like it might take some time. And for most teams, like it's not that big a deal if your quarterback misses like the first game. But we feel like it's reasonable to think that the Bengals could be a threat to win the AFC, to win the Super Bowl. And you'd really rather play in Cincinnati than Arrowhead. You'd really rather play in Cincinnati than Buffalo. I know they went there and won. You'd really rather play in Cincinnati than go up to play the Jets or whoever it may be. And that is going to be a razor-thin margin. And if you get out of the, at Cleveland's a game you feel like you should win, I think. I mean, look, it's a road game, I got you, and it's in the division. Cleveland's probably going to be better this year. But that's a game you feel like you should win on the road. If you lose that, then you come home and play a really good Baltimore team, and all of a sudden, like last year, you're 0-2. Well, you didn't recover from 0-2 last year. You got insanely hot in the middle of the year to finish the season. You won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row. You still didn't get home field. You still had to go to Arrowhead. You lost. You had to go to Buffalo. I mean, you feel like if you're Cincinnati, and the Chris Jones injury could be a big deal. We know that. The Chris Jones holdout could be a big deal. But if you're Cincinnati, you've got your eyes on, 14-3, trying to get to that if you want to be the 1 seed? And every game is so precious. So for him, even if he does play, not to have practiced could be a huge, huge deal for Cincinnati. I think he'll play. We know Joe. He's tough as nails. You don't want to re-injure that calf, but he wants to play, wants to win, and I think he'll be out there. Again, they're at Cleveland. They have Baltimore. Then they got the Rams, who aren't going to be good. At Tennessee and at Arizona, who's not going to be any good. They're not even trying. So you've got some winnable games early on, and Joe's going to play in those. But it's curious to see how they're going to handle Burrow and how effective he'll be, having not been able to practice. 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges will select a winner on September the 29th. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 104.5 ESPN. You know, sign that you're aging a little bit. I mean, I'm still a young person, 35 years old. But, like, today's one of those days I'm like, man, I am getting a little older. My house is entirely sick. Myers got sick on Friday. My wife got sick last night and couldn't sleep, and so I got up and left the bed, and I went and slept on the couch. I woke up this morning. I feel like I have a torn rotator cuff from sleeping on the couch. Like, that would have been, and I slept fine, but I feel like that would have been no big deal, like 4 years ago, and now one night on the couch, and I'm crippled. Like, if I had to go swing a golf club right now, I think I'd be in big trouble. Our rankings, where do I have the Tigers? That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app's easy to use, and you can bet on everything from point spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Wazan inviting you to join me, Coach Todd Black, and Coach Jimmy Roy for the next edition of Louisiana Prep Weekly. Live from Walk-Ons in Zachary as we welcome in Coach Devin Ducote and the West Feliciana Saints. Louisiana Prep Weekly, Wednesday nights at 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Dave Chappelle is coming to New Orleans. And you can see comedian Dave Chappelle live at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Friday, September 15th. That's obviously next Friday. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, and you can go do that. Or you can allow us at 104.5 ESPN to give you a chance to see Dave for free. Go to 104.5ESPN.com and register for your chance to win a pair of tickets to go see Dave Chappelle at the Smoothie King Center. I would love to go see Dave Chappelle. He's hilarious. Chappelle's show was awesome when I was in college. All right, let's do some SEC football power rankings. We're going to do this each and every Wednesday at 2:30. And I will probably make the Bayou Ford chat very angry a lot. But that's just part of the power rankings. It is what it is. We'll start at the bottom and we'll work our way to the top. This is probably not fair. Okay? It's probably not fair. But I'm just going to work off the assumption that Vanderbilt's the worst team in the league until I'm proven wrong. That's kind of just a baseline. I don't really have anything against Vanderbilt. I don't like their baseball coach very much. But Nashville's a great town. Love Broadway. I appreciate that they have a good baseball team, regardless of the fact that they wear dumb uniforms in game ones. But I just assume they're the worst. They recruit at the lowest level. They win the fewest amount of games. Until they beat, I know they're 2-0. That's great. held off Hawaii in the opener in front of 11 people and a couple of cranes in the end zone. But I'll work off the assumption that Vanderbilt is number 14. I do have to put Florida at 13. I don't know of a team that I could confidently put behind Florida at this point. That was an awful performance at Utah. They looked pretty slow on defense against a backup quarterback, gave up the big play. I know they have 2 good running backs, but they couldn't run the ball. So I don't like the offensive line. I don't like the playmakers outside of Pearsall. I don't like Graham Mertz. I'm not writing the Napier era off completely, but I don't like where they are right now. I've got Florida at number 13. Missouri got a week 0 game. And maybe they're better than this. But I've got them at number 12. Brady Cook is fine. Their defense has been mediocre. And Eli Drinkwitz is good for a soundbite. Is he good for winning a bunch of games? Not to this point. Got a contract extension for doing basically nothing. So haven't seen much of Missouri in terms of, they haven't been tested. But I'll take Missouri at number 12. I've got Auburn at 11. Peyton Thorne, 10 of 17. I liked the Ashford wrinkle that they went to. It's different. UMass is really bad. I think that Hugh Freeze is a good coach and a good play caller, and I think they'll score some points this year. And I think they'll probably win a game or two here that I will tell you on Friday that I expect them to lose. Do I think it's a really talented roster? No. Do I love them at quarterback? No. Jarquez Hunter didn't play. I think he's a good back. Their secondary looks pretty good. But again, it's UMass. We'll see. They got Cal this week. They need to go out there and win that game. But I've got them at 11. I got Arkansas at 10. KJ Jefferson was really efficient in the game. Now they're playing Western Carolina, so take it for what it's worth. He was 18 of 23, threw for 350 yards. I'm still iffy on the wide receiver group. I know they hit a couple of big plays. It is Western Carolina. That's going to happen. I just don't love the defense, and I don't love the playmakers. So that, to me, sends up some red flags. So I do like KJ Jefferson. I think he's good. But I've got Arkansas at 10. At 9, I've got Kentucky. I probably thought I would have them higher than this. They win 44-14 over Ball State. I've told you many times I love Berrien Brown. He went 99 yards with a kick return. Kentucky also had a scoop and score. So with a kickoff return for touchdown and a scoop and score, that may temper my thoughts on what they did on offense. This is going to be fluid week to week, and I do readily admit that I think with what I saw from Kentucky's running game and what I think Leary could be, I would probably bet on them to finish higher than this, but I'm not ready to put them there just yet, so I've got Kentucky at 9. South Carolina did not run the ball well at all against North Carolina. Spencer Rattler was actually pretty good. He threw for 353 yards and didn't turn it over. So, if you told me that, based on Spencer Rattler last year finishing, ridiculous game against Tennessee, outside his mind against Tennessee and good against Clemson, and then you told me, hey, by the way, coming off those two, throw out the bowl game because I think bowl games are a joke at this point, he's going to come out against North Carolina, who wasn't great on defense last year, but he's going to throw for 353 without turning it over via the interception. I go, okay, well, South Carolina's got something then. Now, they lost because they couldn't run the ball, and they didn't do enough on defense. So I've got them middle of the pack. I've got them right there at number 8. Number 7, I've got Ole Miss. This is a preconceived notion based on my thoughts 2 weeks ago, not necessarily what we saw in the game on Saturday. Just as of 2 weeks ago, I looked at this Ole Miss team and I said Jackson Dart was fine last year, not great. And they haven't been great on defense. They lost, 6 of their last 7? So I just kind of said I don't think they're going to be great. Now, they looked good on Saturday. Dart was efficient. He was accurate. Had a kid from Louisiana have 3 touchdowns in the first 4 minutes of the game for Ole Miss. But again, maybe we learn a little bit more against Tulane this week, a little bit more against Georgia Tech, and then we'll learn a ton when LSU comes to Oxford and they go to Tuscaloosa. But I think Ole Miss at 7 right now is just kind of my preconceived notion that I don't love that team based on their finish last year and what they had coming back. So I've got Ole Miss at 7. To catch you up on those, I've got Vanderbilt dead last 14, Florida at 13, Missouri at 12, Auburn at 11, Arkansas at 10, Kentucky at 9, South Carolina at 8. At 7, I've got Ole Miss. And at 6, I've got Mississippi State. I think a lot of people would have them significantly lower than this because they did not look great against Southeastern Louisiana. However, I was high on Mississippi State entering the season, and the reasons I was high on Mississippi State entering the season are the reasons I'm still high on them, relatively speaking. You realize that Mississippi State is going to start 10 seniors on offense and 10 seniors on defense. That includes some grad students as well. But 20 4th, 5th, and 6th year players are their top 22. One sophomore, one junior. Like, that's veteran stuff. And I thought their defense did play pretty well. Again, it was in Southeastern. I did not love the way the offensive line blocked, but I love the way that Woody Marks ran. And I'm just not going to sit here and bet heavy against Will Rogers. I think he's a good quarterback. Do I think he's going to be the first team all-league quarterback? I do not. Do I think he's good? Yeah, and he's old. I just like the fact that they're really old. So I've got them at number 6. At number 5, I've got LSU. There are your Tigers. I still think it's a top half of the SEC team, and I still think it's a team that's got a pretty high ceiling. I'm petrified of what they've got at corner and safety to an extent. And I wish I saw more from the running game on Saturday. I feel differently after watching LSU on Sunday. I meant to say Sunday. Feel differently after watching LSU on Sunday in the games against Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Auburn and Florida. Differently than I do about A&M. I thought those games LSU should be a favorite in and should be games that LSU wins. And now I'm starting to think that they feel more like coin tosses. And LSU was great in coin toss games last year. They flipped the script after falling down big to Ole Miss. They flipped the script after falling behind big to Mississippi State. They flipped the script after falling behind big to Auburn. They found a way to get it done in Gainesville. They found a way to get it done against Alabama. Now they got hammered by Tennessee and Texas A&M. But I still have reason for optimism, and I'm certainly not going to be miserable watching the game on Saturday night. I've got LSU at 5. And now you're sitting there going, wait a second. I get Georgia ahead of them. I get Bama being ahead of them. Wait, who else is... Wait, where's A&M? I've got A&M at 4. I can't help it. They got this maroon Kool-Aid sitting here, and it's got all these 5 stars in it, and I just can't quite knock it off the table. Maybe I need clinical help. Get a shrink. Certainly, I can't sit there and watch. I don't even remember who they played on Saturday. Somebody was not good. New Mexico. There it is. Just came to me. Oh, you're taking a 5-17 that beat New Mexico and you're going to flip the script like that? Right now? Yeah. I think they might have a good quarterback. That means a lot. And he's throwing to Anaya Smith, who I know is good, and he's throwing to Evan Stewart, who I know is good, and he's throwing to Moose Muhammad, who I know is good. The question's the offensive line. We'll find out against Miami. If they can't block Miami at all, they can't run the ball, and the offense looks like it did last year, we'll just make some adjustments in next week's power rankings. I get it. The defense has got a mountain of 5 stars on the offensive front. Damani Richardson back at safety. Corner's a concern as well. Corner and offensive line at A&M are not great. I know. I'm not saying they're going to win the league. But I think that they got some talent. I think A&M's better than Mississippi State. I think they're better than Ole Miss. I think they're better than Kentucky. I hope I'm wrong. Goodness gracious, I hope I'm wrong. And we'll have some laughs along the way if I am. But right now I've got them at 4. I've got the Vols at 3. This is something I talked about 2 years ago with Tennessee. I could not tell the difference in the Derek Dooley era and the Butch Jones era. I could not tell the difference from the Butch Jones era to the Jeremy Pruitt era. That all looked the same. Just some mediocre, bland football. The second Josh Heupel took over, Tennessee got an identity. And I trust that identity. They're going to go out, especially against teams they've got more talent than, and overwhelm you offensively. Just turn them on. I'm sure a lot of you didn't watch Tennessee, Virginia, because it's Virginia, like whatever, but I'm sure some of you did. It's noticeable how much faster their tempo is than everybody else. Like, it's just not fun to prepare for. It's not fun to play against. And Joe Milton is not nearly as good as Hendon Hooker was last year. Not even close. But because of the tempo, because there is some talent, and because Heupel's a really good mind, they're going to score on most teams. They may not score a bunch against Georgia this year. They may not score a ton on Bama. They may. They scored 50 on Bama last year. But more often than not, I'm going to trust that Tennessee's going to go score. Now, they may get South Carolina and they give up 63 and they lose. But because they've got such a strong identity that I think I can commit to, I got Tennessee at 3. I do have Bama at 2. Their offensive line's so big. Caden Proctor, it's a joke how big he is. 5-star offensive tackle, number 1 offensive tackle in the country, committed to Iowa, from Iowa, wanted to stay at home. Signing day, flipped to Bama. Now he's our starting left tackle. And I didn't think Jalen Milroe was awesome on Saturday. Don't get me twisted here. I do not think he was awesome. But they're going to try to bully some folks. And look, we'll have a real idea of how things are going on Saturday night because Texas has some talent and they've got a good quarterback. So I've got Bama at 2, and that puts Georgia at 1. The talent level here is just so massive. And was Carson Beck Heisman worthy on Saturday? No. I got home yesterday and turned on the TV and SEC Network had been on. I don't spend a lot of time listening to the Feinbaum show, but it was on. And the first guy that called in was a big Georgia fan. He was just ripping Carson Beck. Deer in the headlights, doesn't know what he's doing. Bennett had the it factor. This guy didn't have it. It's like, wow, how perspective has changed in Athens over the last 3 years. But I think that the talent level is just so big that they're going to be so tough on defense that you just get the ball to Bowers, you get the ball out to McConkey, you run it, it's going to be fine. And I think they're going to be really, really tough to deal with. So those are my inaugural SEC power rankings. We'll start at 1 this time. Georgia 1, Bama 2, Vols 3, A&M 4. I've got LSU at 5, Mississippi State at 6, Ole Miss 7, South Carolina at 8, Kentucky at 9, Arkansas at 10, Auburn at 11, Missouri at 12, Florida coming in at 13, and the Vanderbilt Commodores bringing up the rear in with number 14. So I'll look in the Bayou Ford chat during the break. I'm sure people will go nuts and tell me I'm an idiot, but that's what the power rankings are for. Come back and close out a Wednesday show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, you already know, been in the business 30 years, renovating and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If your closet is just a mess, it's a clutter, there's suitcases and shoes and jackets, and you just don't have room, you find yourself using a flashlight trying to find stuff in there because you just can't, let David Duvall and his team come in and just relieve the clutter. They start with a questionnaire. They understand, what do you have? How many pairs of shoes you got? What do you need? Do you wear suits to work every day and you got to have a bunch of those? Well, and they'll put together a customized closet for you. It's just going to make your day go a lot easier. Lessen the anxiety level a little bit. They can put in custom racks, lights, and shelves, and cubbies, and they'll make it look sleek and stylish in your home as well. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, and check out their testimonials. Check out the work that they've done with the images, and request that free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything to have David Duvall and his team come out and give it a look. Onebathandclosets.com is the website. Again, it's onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online at runningboardsmarketing.com so we can drive your message to where the people are.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Moscona inviting to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Russ Mitchell joins us, talk a little SEC football. We head up to Nashville to check in on the Tennessee Titans before they head to the Dome. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Shoulder really hurts from sleeping on the couch. I'm like reaching over to grab paper and it hurts. It's just pathetic. Not durable. The best ability is availability. If someone asked me to come do something with my right arm today, I would not be available. Not good. But I can play take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. The Cubs win today, by the way. They are up 6-0 right now in the 5th inning. If they win today, they're within a game and a half of the Brewers. We're winning the division. Take it or leave it.
I got to take it. Got to take it. Cubs have won more games than anyone in baseball since the All-Star break. Brought up Jordan Wicks, who's dealing today and has been. Got probably the Cy Young winner in Justin Steele. Nobody can get Seiya Suzuki out. This is the content you look for on ESPN Baton Rouge, breaking down the Cubs in September.
Yep.
Yeah, we're winning the division. I'm feeling really good about it. I was texting a buddy last night. I was like, this team's fun. Like, this is a good team. They could do something. It's weird because I feel like I watched Rizzo and Bryant and Baez and Hendricks and Contreras and all those guys, like, grow up.
Yeah.
And that I don't feel like this with this team. Like, you just threw Swanson in. Like, I saw Nico grow up.
Bellinger.
But, like, Bellinger they just signed. And, like, Suzuki was a
Stroman
signee.
earlier.
Stroman's. And, like, it doesn't feel like that did. Like, that was what they did in 2015 and then into 16 was just, like, magic. And I don't know if I have that emotional connection, like, with this team as I did with that 16 one. But it's fun, and I'm pulling for him.
Caleb Williams' father said it's no lock his son declares for the NFL draft after this season. He's crazy. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. And that has nothing to do with whether or not Caleb Williams wants to go play for the Cardinals or wants to go play for the Buccaneers or wants to go play with whoever gets the first pick. It has everything to do with the fact that LSU opens with USC next year in Vegas, and he better not be in what do they call their colors? They would be
maroon, I think.
I don't
Is it
think
maroon?
so. I think
don't
it's
know.
like
Scarlet.
Scarlet's Florida State. Somebody know Cardinal?
No, will that be Stanford?
No, it is Stanford, but I think they may be Cardinal. I think that may be their color. I'll check on that. But either way, I want no part of Caleb Williams in that game. Give me whatever new transfer quarterback Lincoln wants to go grab, not that guy, because he's good, and I don't want to deal with him out in Vegas. I'm looking forward to that trip. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to play some Blackjack Switch. I love that game, and I can't find it anywhere else. It's going to be awesome, but I don't want Caleb Williams to be there. He needs to be in training camp far, far away.
Wit in the chat says Scarlet, so I think you got it right there on the colors. All right. Yep. Next one here, the LSU golf team debuted black camo uniforms for their tournament this weekend. Uniforms are, take it or leave it.
We're going to leave that. Black's bad. It's just not good. It didn't look good on the Smoke Laval baseball uniforms. Didn't look good on
hot too.
Yeah, it didn't look good on the Brady basketball team that wore it a couple times. It's just, we're not black. We're purple and gold and white, and those are the three colors. You stick to it. You don't wear black. You can put a great golf uniform together with purple and gold. You don't need black, and you don't need camo. Camo is just not a good look unless you're like Army. Like, I think Ole Miss looks dumb in camo hats every Sunday. I hated that our guys wore camo hats for a couple of weeks, even though Skeens was in the military at the Air Force Academy, and if he wants to wear whatever he wants to wear, if he wants to wear a pink bonnet out there, he can wear that if he does 100 miles an hour and strikes somebody out. But the uniform czar is going to rule. This is no-go on black uniforms at LSU.
Last one here. This Hard Knock season with the Jets. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I enjoyed it. I finished it up last night. It was like the reports that came out early were true. They did not show anybody getting cut. That's usually like a big deal. They follow the guys and then they show them getting cut or not getting cut. And the three guys they kind of followed were two undrafted rookie wide receivers and a sixth-year defensive lineman who they had signed, and all three made the team. The two receivers were on the 53, and the defensive lineman was put on the practice squad. And it was really cool. I enjoyed the moment of the coaches telling the two undrafted rookie wide receivers, like, you're a New York Jet. Like, it was really cool. I found myself, like, smiling on the couch last night watching it. They made Aaron Rodgers look like the prodigal son meets John the Baptist meets Christ. Like, he was the nicest, most professional, wonderful guy who ever lived. They show him go to a Broadway show last night, and
I saw him talking about UFOs. Like, he saw UFO.
He's talking about seeing UFOs with a buddy. That's a guy that he let come to practice. He said they were standing on the back porch and they saw a UFO go by really fast and then fighter jets flying after it. Okay, I don't know if he saw that in his darkness retreat or actually at that guy's house, but it was very flattering of Aaron Rodgers. And I'm just, when I see that and see the way that he handled things in Green Bay, it kind of irks me. I know that it's not great for him for them to draft Jordan Love in the first round when he's trying to win his last Super Bowl. I know that there were some disagreements between the two, but for him to be like what appeared to me to be combative for his last few years there for the majority of the time and kind of non-committal and whatever and kind of dragging him along, and then to come to New York and just be Mr. Jet was a little bit much for me. I didn't love that. But look, Quinnen Williams looks awesome, and I can see why Hard Knocks gets a Vegas bump, because like last year people were betting on the Lions and it looked terrible through half the season, and they got really, really hot and almost made the playoffs. And this year, like, if you watch that, you'd be like, man, the Jets are going to be awesome. But again, they got to go out there and play. There's a lot of good NFL teams. So I enjoy Hard Knocks. To me, it really does a nice job of creating some feelings of football in August when it feels kind of like you're in the doldrums, especially early August where you're not really close to those first college games. And I hear the music and I just feel like, oh, it's football time's coming. Like, it's time to put the beach in the rearview mirror and the lake in the rearview mirror, and it's time to, football's almost here. That's like Hard Knocks is one of those first harbingers of football season to come. And I enjoyed watching the end of it last night. I thought it was quite good. So there's your Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Lining up tomorrow's show on a Thursday, always presented by Rouse's. We'll talk with Luke Johnson on the Saints. We'll talk with Nick Suss, who covers the Tennessee Titans up there for the paper in Nashville. He was the beat writer at Ole Miss and now is up there at Tennessee. So talk about the Titans. I'm going to give you my projections for the NFL season. We'll do best win and worst loss on the board as well each and every Thursday. So a lot to get to on a Thursday show. We had a lot to get to today, and we kind of knocked it all out. We opened the show with some Brian Kelly sound from yesterday's press conference and the teleconference. Chatted with JD PicKell of On 3 Sports. It was a What If Wednesday. Talked about me running for mayor, which is never, ever going to happen. Brian Kelly sound again at 2 o'clock from teleconference today. Joe Burrow, full go at practice today. He had a press conference, said, hey, I'm ready to go. So we expect to see number 9 out there on Sunday for the Bengals playing Cleveland. And then we did our SEC Power Rankings, where I put LSU, I believe, 5th. Is that right? I put LSU 5th in my SEC Power Rankings. If you want to listen to them, you can go back and catch it on demand as you can. Our entire show, it's going to be archived on 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on Google. You can always find our stuff each and every day. And appreciate y'all for checking us out on YouTube. We got 2 YouTube channels for the show, Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. You want to check those out, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. Plus, it helps you out because you get LSU football and Saints football content right to your YouTube homepage if you are a subscriber. So appreciate y'all for doing that for us. All right. I'm going to go home to a house full of sick people, try to take care of people. My mom's there too, so maybe she can help. But we're going to be back in action tomorrow for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home on After Further Review. See you tomorrow. Have an awesome Wednesday.
Electricity is all around us.